in later years. So that was the #1 weapon, and the ninja, of course, had to be very familiar defending against that sword, but also using swords themselves.
In the first game, the dragon sword was pretty much considered the default weapon and the best weapon, and if you wanted to get through the game easily, use the dragon sword.
You'll notice that the dragon sword this time around is a lot more flexible. It has a lot more moves, it can really be a signature weapon for Hayabusa, and is a great partner to all the obliteration techniques.
There was a skill of fighting with 2 swords at the same time, and so you can imagine how confusing that would be to an enemy who's used to seeing just one at a time.
The dual katanas were present in Ninja Gaiden Sigma, but in that game they were incomplete. It didn't have a lot of moves and there were very few things that you could do with it. This time around though, we were obviously re-envisioning it as a completely new weapon. You have obliteration techniques, and there are so many more things that you can do with this weapon, so I certainly encourage everyone to get their hands on a new dual katanas.
The ninja, so lethal with body and blade, were known as invisible warriors, a tribute to their concealment skills and a lack of true knowledge about them. Rumors spoke of ninja who used magic to disappear, walk across water, or strike down an enemy.
Well, the term ninjutsu, jutsu means an art or a technique. And then there's another term, ninpo. Ninpo would be the magic of knowing how the universe and the inhabitants, the people and the animals and the weather and everything, knowing how that works. And so that is the traditional magic of the ninja.
Ninpo is supposed to be ninja magic. And I think a lot of people in the first game felt like, yeah, they were cool, but, you know, it was really a take it or leave it kind of thing.
What we've tried to do in this game is make sure that each one has its own individual purpose and make sure that although the ninpos are, of course, designed to kill enemies, that you really get the satisfaction and feeling that you finish an enemy off.
The new game, you want to use them, right? You want to be constantly pushing that ninpo button because it's just so badass what happens.
In Ninja Gaiden 2, when you use the Art of the Inferno, which is the fire ninpo, and you hit an enemy with it, that enemy will be enveloped in flames and will run screaming on fire until it finally burns to death.
We have a ninpo in Ninja Gaiden 2 called the Wind Blades. Shoots out blades of wind that cuts the enemy into pieces.
Itagaki-san came to me and said, the enemy should be just cut into pieces. Just cut him into shreds. And so when we were thinking about how to best achieve that, he came to me with this comic book and said, look at this, here's one way you could do it.
Itagaki-san first came to me to explain what he wanted this Wind Blades ninpo to be. I didn't really understand what he was getting at. I couldn't really conceive what he was looking for. It wasn't until we went through several versions and it became what it is right now that I finally got it and said, oh, I see. This is what he was shooting for.
There are a lot of these ninja skills that look supernatural or impossible, but actually they're grounded in reality. For instance, ninja are heard of as walking on water. Well, how would you do that? In the marshes of Iga, there are a lot of plants that grow there in shallow water. There could be a construction that a ninja would use. It looks like a great big giant raft that could be strapped to a foot. And by sliding those, they would push the plant growth down and create some stability for themselves. Now, when you look at it, it looks like the ninja is walking on water.
We've made it so that he can not only run on water, but he's going to be a very effective fighting force on top of the water. Every weapon will have its own unique attack that is used when you're in and around the water, so that we can add even more depth to that portion of the game.
Ninja Gaiden 1 was the first action game that we ever did. We knew that there was a ton of things that needed to be improved on, and that was just something we had to do.
Despite the fact that the first Ninja Gaiden was known as an amazing game and a masterpiece by a lot of gamers out there, we didn't necessarily share that sentiment inside the team.
Itagaki-san on the team felt like Ninja Gaiden 2 should be really unique in its visual presentation, so that every background that you look at, you're thinking, wow.
You have ninjas fighting monsters in the middle of New York. It's a mix of historical accuracy mixed with fantasy and science fiction and lots of horror elements as well.
What we do is we send people to New York to take pictures. We send people to Mount Fuji to go and take shots. And we include those so that you can know immediately, oh, that's Mount Fuji. I know exactly what that is.
This is what makes the difference between a good game and a great game.
Obviously, some locations in the game were inspired by traditional Japanese architecture. The Hayabusa village, we tried to kind of give the essence of what a period village might have looked like. But the majority of the game takes place on a worldwide stage. For Ninja Gaiden 2, we're trying to create something that can really be a masterpiece that will show off everything that this team is about.
Making a game is a process where if there are 100 elements, 90 of them are created pretty much automatically. It's the remaining 10% that is the key. That's what defines if it's a good game or not. Those are the hardest things to lock in. Those are the hardest things to do, and that's my job. And that's one of the hardships I go through.
The pursuit of perfection is the chosen journey of many great minds. Whether designing a video game or planning a battle, the success or failure of such pursuit is often found in the details.
The ninja would be out in the field and needed to be able to interpret intelligence as they went along. They had to have their hand, their mind, their perceptions on what's going on, and then make up their mind as they went along.
Itagaki-san likes to be aware of all facets and all parts, whether it's the game development, some of the marketing, the design, the colors. It's just such a thrill for everyone, all teams involved, when he does come to Microsoft, because it's our opportunity to meet the man, the legend.